What is up, everybody? Welcome to another night, the esports night, I should say. How you doing, Artosis?
Oh, tasteless. I was doing great, but now I'm doing even better than that. I'm doing fantastically because this is a very exciting night. We have 9 of the world's best players going at it in an amazing Race Wars battle.
And one we cannot announce just yet, but we'll be finding out who that is soon enough here. And this is a really cool thing that's been going on throughout the year here for StarCraft. We have ASL as well as many other StarCraft tournaments that have been growing in popularity not just in Korea, but around the world as the foreign scene is growing as well. And, getting all the greats from the different ages, from the different time periods, and putting them together and having them duke it out in a show match like this is really something that's truly special.
Yeah, this is going to be great no matter how you look at it. And the thing is, I'm not even sure who is supposed to win this because it's really a team effort here tonight. For those of you who are confused about what might be going on, there's 3 Terrans, 3 Protoss, and 3 Zerg. And each player will go into a group with the players of the other races, and they'll do a round robin. So, I mean, every player and every map win is very important tonight.
Yeah, and this is a representation of essentially the 3 best players in each of the respective races coming in here. And it's always been a fun thing about StarCraft. You have totally different play styles in each race, but also different personalities within the different players who play that specific race. And I think you can agree, you as a Terran, me as a Protoss, I tend to root for my race, and I really like celebrating the play style that the players my race play. And so we've got these 9 players, 3 of each race. One not announced on the Zerg, but that'll be announced soon enough. For Terran, Flash, Light, and Mind. Protoss, Bisu, Best, Snow. Zerg is going to be Queen, Sulky, and then we don't know yet.
Don't know.
Well, you and I know, but we can't say anything.
Can't say it. You guys will find out very shortly about that, but this is going to be really awesome. Please help us spread the word. This wasn't really advertised super well within the non-Korean scene. So, yeah, get out there. Let people know that it's going on right now. It's going to be amazing. This is going to be a long night of great epic Brood War matches.
Yeah, this should be one of our longer nights that we have here where, StarCraft's a funny game in that it can end at any time, basically between 2 minutes and all the way into an hour, depending on how the games pan out exactly. And a lot of times the non-mirror matchups tend to be the longest. The shortest matchups in the game are Zerg versus Zerg, and then probably Protoss versus Protoss, but occasionally that does go into a long one. So tonight should be pretty dramatic, pretty epic. And again, to see these different players with their different play styles engaging in each other, it should be a big variety of fun matches to cast and to watch, of course.
For sure. Here's our map set that we're going to be going through. As you can see, 1 player from each race will be in each of these rounds. So that is how that's going to be going down. Looks like round 2 going to be pretty vanilla overall. Round 1 with that blockchain definitely going to be, I guess, the crazy round comparatively.
Yeah. It's been so great to see StarCraft being remastered. It's been back for a couple years, and the scene is huge. There's so many tournaments popping up all over the place. This game has really more history than any other game when it comes to one country and what impact it's had on the culture here. StarCraft, a lot of Koreans refer to it as a folk game out here because it's been around for so long. And people have grown up with it, and now they've been teaching their kids it here. And with the remastered coming in here and it being working on modern PCs and with an updated BattleNet infrastructure and all these different things that Blizzard's done to support it, it's pretty incredible because, look, there's going to be a lot of other new esports that come out. I know that every time a new game pops up, that's really exciting and cool, and it's the new esport. But this one's been going on for 22 years, and I don't see it stopping.
No, and nor should it. I mean, this is the ultimate in old school. This is
right.
And the thing is, we still have so many older players playing, lots of players in their 30s, but we also have a lot of newer players.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that half the people I play have to be about 12 years old.
Because of your extreme experience?
Yeah. But, I mean, it's never too late to start StarCraft because if any game has proven that it will always be around, I think you've got to hand it to this one, right? 22 years, and seriously, there's a big player base. There are a lot of people playing. It takes only seconds to queue into a game.
I've been a big fan of PC cafes, especially lately, although that's slowed down a little bit with coronavirus. But every time you go to a PC cafe, yeah, sure, some of the newer games are more played, but you always see people playing StarCraft, the original StarCraft. And really, this is what makes an esport so great. It's the history. It's the fact that we can build so much off of what's already been, built before it. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and to see that propel forward, and to have a game that we can continue to learn and continue to unpack and develop and master is really something special.
Well, this game truly, amongst all games, has infinite depth.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done very little other than study StarCraft for the last 22 years. And still, every day I learn how much I don't know.
It's crazy. I guess another good comparison that people in the West, I'm sure most of the viewers are hardcore StarCraft viewers, but in the West, one that's a big example of this is Smash Melee, where people are just going to keep playing that game.
Yeah.
And people are still learning things about it, and they're discovering new exploits in the game, or the tier system is changing.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be learning a lot even tonight here with StarCraft, with the players that we have and the strategies that are going to be used.
Oh, absolutely. We should see a really diverse set of games here, especially because we have players that are pretty much the very top of their race.
Right.
I guess you could maybe argue the third best player for each race, but we definitely got top 2 for all of them tonight.
Sure.
And the thing is, the styles between players are so vastly different. No one at the top plays the same.
We've talked about this before, but if you were to cover up the IDs of the players,
I will tell you the T.E.N players so quickly.
We could identify pretty quickly. Okay, I think this is this player or that player because, although to some extent there's a correct way to play the game, of course, there are so many different ways to express yourself, to utilize different parts of the strategies, and another thing that makes it even better for the future is the fact that we can keep making maps and keep developing systems on those maps that allow for new play styles. In ASL, as an example, we're introducing more experimental island maps, and that's really shown us new ways the game can operate. And so really, people say the sky's the limit, but no, it is absolutely limitless here.
The sky is too low.
Yeah.
All the dimensions
the universe is the limit, or something like that. Yeah, but it's been great. I know both you and I have been streaming a lot. I mean, normally Artosis and I are both traveling a decent amount, especially with StarCraft 2 overseas, but nobody's traveling right now. Nobody at all, really, because of coronavirus. So we've both been streaming a ton, and that's been a blast. And it's been fun, for me, especially just going back to my roots. I know you've been streaming longer than me, but it's great to kind of go back and be like, oh, yeah, this is the game I played all along. This is the whole reason why you and I are even here in Korea.
100%. That is a fact. The reason I came to Korea was to play this game.
Yes.
Not even to cast it, to play it.
Yes.
And damn, here I am, right?
We're
been
keeping
in Korea
this fake
12
job
years.
going.
Yeah. Just going to be playing this till the end of time, no doubt.
So going into today's games, it's going to be interesting, as these are going to be short one-off games, how players are going to approach it. Usually we have players play, a best of 3 or a best of 5 to try to decide who's the best. Sometimes even a best of 7, but in a one-off, there's some tricky stuff you can do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can do some very big percentage plays, but you might want to look at your group as well and say, okay, how do I get out of this correctly? For instance, if you are maybe the weakest player from your race and you're going against the strongest player from another race, maybe it's time to mix that up and do some cheese, right? Like you're playing against Flash and you are, well, none of these players are weak, so I actually can't even come up with anything. But, best of 1 definitely adds a little bit of volatility to this.
It should be noted as well that although Flash has announced that he is going to be debuting as a random player in tournaments, he will not be doing that in this tournament because it is a race-specific tournament. We have 3 Terrans, 3 Zergs, 3 Protosses. So we're going to wait on that. And maybe, who knows, one day we'll have a set of players who are in the 4th group, the Flash and the 2 super cheesy players who can't get above a certain rank on ladder but can basically cheese you out every time if they get the right matchup.
Yeah, Bishop is a random player now, so there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, we will be having Flash come into this as a Terran, and of course Flash is the most dominant player throughout the history of StarCraft. He's had a lot of success, and basically more success than we've seen anybody have in any game That's basically because of two reasons. One is that he is so much better than anybody's ever been in any game, so much more dominant. And I really mean that. And I know there's a lot of great players in other games. I'm not trying to take that away from them.
Daigo's great.
Do
Faker's
your homework.
Great.
Yes. Sonic
Flash
Fox
is the
is great.
best.
They're all very good. But if you look at, and this is going to lead to my second point here, which is that look at the amount of time that Flash is also dominated in.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Flash
has been dominant in StarCraft 1 longer than a lot of players have even had a game to play in an esports lifespan.
Yeah, no, most games haven't been out as long as he's been dominant.
Yes.
That's a fact. Okay?
And I'm not just saying that
Counter-Strike's
because,
been out.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, and even that, it's been so many different iterations of Counter-Strike. But also, Counter-Strike's a team game. And you're never going to have the same 5 people for, 22 years, for instance, the length of StarCraft, dominate. I guess you could, but
that Polish
hasn't
team
happened.
tried, man.
But, for one-on-one games, yeah, I mean, Flash has really done something pretty incredible. It's one of the reasons why he's decided to, in upcoming tournaments, actually start to play random and try to explore the possibility of
You got to do something else eventually, man.
Yeah.
You can't just do the same thing on repeat forever. How many
Well,
championships
that's what we're
does he
trying to
need?
do, but yeah.
That's true.
No,
but maybe when we our Flash level, we'll decide to go random.
What'll happen for us is we'll show up at a tournament. We won't know what game we're casting until it starts. They'll put a bag over our head like one of those attack hawks. Where
just pull it off.
Yeah, and then oh my God, we're in a racing game now.
Yeah, Kart Rider. Oh crap.
Yeah. So over on the Korean side of the stream, the players are being interviewed. Of course, with coronavirus, we can't have an audience, but we also don't have the players here at the studio.
That's right.
So,
they'll be playing from home.
Correct. So we have our players calling in. They're talking to the Korean commentators. When those interviews are done, they're hyping it up a little bit on the Korean side. We're going to be hopping into our matches, and it should be pretty much game, nonstop StarCraft action.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of StarCraft. There's no doubt about that, right? Like even in best of one mode, we don't have any mirrors, right? And ZVZ
Correct.
is the quickest matchup, and I think PvP might generally be the second quickest matchup. So we're missing both those, but hey, we're missing TVT as well, which is generally the slowest matchup.
Yes.
So a little bit of balancing going on there. I think a lot of it really matters just what strategies these guys want to bring out here tonight as well, though.
There's so many different ways to play a game. It is somewhat map dependent, of course, but there's a lot of different approaches. Are you going to stay back and do a very conservative macro game where maybe you don't even scout that much? You're kind of going to be ready for anything. At least that's the spirit of the builder in which you're trying to do. On the other hand, you could have somebody try to do a quick all-in, gateways in the main, or a bunker rush on the map, 5 pool. These are all possibilities to let you win. But with it being a best of one, I think we may, correct me if I'm wrong, if you disagree, but I think we may have more conservative games here.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not entirely sold one way or the other. We have a lot of macro players that are playing here tonight that generally do go for a more macro-esque play, but it's best of one. So I feel like if you're not mixing in a little bit of aggression, you're actually missing out. Like I feel like if you're playing best of ones, trying to absorb everything is maybe not the best play. At least from a T.E.N standpoint, I would want to absorb some, but maybe, open up with an aggressive build as well.
Some kind of a control build even.
Yeah. I mean, even like T.E.N vs. Zerg, what about an 8 racks in front of my natural, right? Something that can absolutely go into a macro game, but gives me a little pressure early on. Let's the Zerg possibly make a mistake and give me a lead.
I'm excited to go into each of our players a little bit more once these interviews are done and unpack the different play styles and the history of these guys. It's funny, too, because with StarCraft Remastered now still being one of the most popular games, it was already still one of the most popular games before it was redone, but now that it's been redone, we've seen this whole new era of players young players get ushered in.
Yeah.
And are training for this. And it's fascinating to be here 20 years in, but I want to know what happens 20 years from now. I mean, who is still dominant? Because we've got these younger guys that are up and coming. I know a lot of them are going to be watching and studying this and trying to figure out the next step. But we have a lot of players who've been dominant over at least a decade or more. Is it going to stay that way? Or because we're having some new young players, some as young as 23, 22, coming out and playing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's even younger players that are practicing. But I tell you what, in 20 years from now, that's kind of an exciting thing that you bring up, right? Because I only see it as positive either way, right? Way number one is we still have like a lot of really great, amazing players that are dominating. Way number two is everyone's quit and Artosis is the best player in the world, which it's like finally.
It's you standing on a pile of dead bodies going at last. Finally, I am the king.
A pile of broken CDs, like everyone's quit.
How many StarCraft CDs did you go through?
One.
You went through one, you never broke it, you never scratched it, you never lost it?
I never lost it, never scratched it, never broke it, and I memorized my CD key.
Oh, that's so funny. Because I never broke mine.
I did go
that
through
was for
two
sure.
Brood War CDs, though.
Well, that's kind of what I was asking. The Brood War CD was the one that you had to have to start up the game.
Yeah, that
long ago when you had to actually have a physical copy of the game, because I would take mine out sometimes.
But it didn't have a CD key.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were losing your computer, right? I mean, if you had to rebuy all of StarCraft.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people probably lost their computer over StarCraft, but it wasn't us. Anyways, we're still waiting for these interviews to wind up, and then we'll be hopping into our matches.
Yeah, let's talk about the players a little bit.
Please.
Protoss lineup. Okay, Bisu, Best, Snow. What are you thinking? Terrible players?
I couldn't be happier. I mean, let's take each of these players, right? So Bisu, he's the player that revolutionized PvZ. I do watch his stream a lot on Africa TV, and he's the guy that really makes Protoss vs. Zerg look easy. He obviously can do PvP and PvT, but he really crushes Zergs in a way that we never saw, I think, up until that moment. He mastered fast expand while harassing. Old Protosses used to expand, and, you know, they had their hood over their head and the strings were pulled out, and they were, you know, it was scary. He's out there on the map. He's active. He's fighting. You've got Best, who I think has some of the most charming play out there. It's inventive. It's creative. It's exploitive of the race in so many ways. And I would say he's well-rounded in all the matchups. I think there's an emphasis on macro, but frankly, I think all these guys can basically macro about the same. And then you've got Snow, and Snow, I think, has had one of the most recent revolutions out of all the matchups right now in StarCraft, and that's that he's managed to map out Protoss vs. Terran in a way where he's so much more active. Similar to PvZ, we saw Protosses in a more retracted fashion, turtling, staying back, hiding. Snow's shown that you can basically be on top of the Terran the entire time.
Yeah,
in ways we didn't really see before.
Yeah, he's definitely the scariest PvT player in the world. He looks completely different from everyone else when he plays that matchup.
And I think also him bringing the Reaver out.
Yeah.
In a way where
he'll make them all game.
He does stuff with Reavers I just can't even believe. Like, I'll see him drop a Reaver intentionally on a mine and then pick it back up, forcing it to detonate, and it doesn't hit his Reaver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where, like, I think, you know, in a game that you might have 300 or 400 APM, that seems like maybe not worth it, but he'll do it anyways because he's that good, he's that fast.
Yeah. I got to say, for that Protoss lineup, I don't watch a lot of Protoss players because I'm a Terran player.
Sure.
But actually, those are the three that I watch. Best for a long time has been my favorite Protoss. Snow more recently has really come up, and it's Bisu. I mean, if you don't watch Bisu, do you really watch StarCraft?
Yeah.
So kind of funny that it happens to be those three because those are for sure my favorite Protoss players.
I mean, if we didn't have them, I guess I could see Stork. Certainly a fair pick.
Sure.
Who else is there? I'm suddenly drawing a blank here.
Oh, for
if we had
Protoss
a fifth
players,
Protoss,
well, Rain is kind of inactive. Obviously, Mini is around. Mini's always in.
I knew
good
I was
shape.
missing somebody. I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mini is another good pick.
Yeah.
I think Mini is one of the newer Protosses that's been out there, that's been playing really strong.
Good results.
Granted, all these guys have been around for a long time. So don't
takes
take
a long
this
time to get very good at Brood War.
Yeah, you're not going to play for 2 years and be like, oh, I got it.
Yeah,
I'm doing it. This is a long process, especially to get to the caliber that these guys are. It's going to be a good chunk of your life. So as far as that overall Protoss lineup, I'm pretty excited. What is your take on the Terran lineup?
All right, the Terran lineup, Mind, Light, Flash. Flash goes without saying, the best player of all time. Obviously, he's always exciting to watch. Even though he's switched to random, he's playing Terran here tonight to make this work out. Light, for me personally, that's the guy that I study and have been studying for a long time. Even back in the day before he had any success, this is kind of the working man's Terran. Light is the guy who plays how you're actually supposed to play StarCraft.
He's
you
your
watch
Joe
Flash,
Sixpack T.E.N.
something like that. Like you watch Flash and try to play like Flash. It's impossible. He's just so much better than everyone, so much smarter than everyone, so much mechanically better than everyone, better at micro than everyone. Everything, right? He's the best. So like you can't really copy him. Whereas Light is the man.
Okay, so here's our matchup.
Oh.
Game 1, Light versus Sulky. Game 2, Sulky versus Bisu. And Game 3, Light versus Bisu.
Who do you think comes out on top in this group?
Very tough to say. Part of me wants to say Light because of his recent success. I think Bisu is capable of beating both these guys. Sulky can be off and on at times.
He can be.
Sometimes he does stuff that doesn't make sense and it's incredible, and other times he does stuff that doesn't make sense and it's terrible.
That is true. I think Sulky's best play, though, is the best macro Zerg that I've ever seen.
I look forward to the Light versus Bisu match on Circuit Breakers. This is a classic StarCraft map that's been really almost played too much.
Circuit Breakers?
To be honest. So with two experts like this on a map like that, I want to know what's going to happen. And I think we might be hopping right into our first match here.
It's about time, man. I want it.
I'll tell you what what I really want our toast is to sit here and talk to you a little bit more. But I guess we're going to have to hop into this. Okay, so Light versus Sulky. It starts out on blockchain. A Terran versus Zerg.
All right, in the top left, our Terran player, the KSL champion, Light. In the top right, we have the also KSL champion, actually, Sulky. Also a GSL champion from StarCraft 2.
Yeah, he's one of the rare breeds that actually dominated in both games.
Yeah.
Basically the highest degree that you can, becoming a champion in actually a pretty close period in time. If you look at the entire length of StarCraft 1, and then you take StarCraft 2, which is now a fairly old game.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is never a negative in games like this. I'm actually totally confused because we have, what is this background here with?
Light uses a green screen.
Yeah.
So that's
what he chose?
I guess, yeah,
okay.
It's kind of weird.
But yeah, StarCraft 2 also being an old game, that's incredible that Sulky managed to do this in both games.
Yeah, he and Rain.
Really extraordinary, yeah.
Showing really what they're made of. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about this map and this matchup a little bit. This is blockchain. It's one of our stranger maps. You were talking about how in ASL we mess around a lot with island maps, half island maps, things like that. This is one of those where it's like kind of half island. All the bases around the side can be shut down so that you can't just walk them. You can basically kill some geysers that make them unwalkable. We'll talk about that when we see people actually attack them later on a little bit deeper. But that generally makes this map play very weirdly.
Right.
A lot of times what you're going to see here from Zerg is a Mutalisk opener to control everything so that you can't really attack their third base. And then a lot of times they'll go directly into Ultralisks, which is definitely a build that I've seen Sulky do many, many times.
We've had a lot of Ultra builds, CVT, a lot of new creative approaches to the matchup. Granted, Ultras have always had somewhat of a role in this matchup, especially in the late game, but we've had some very specific Ultra timings, especially with Queens even. I don't know if we'll have anything like that here, but if we do, I look forward to it. I welcome it.
Well, as far as Light goes, Light is, like I was talking about before we started, he is like the working man's Terran. He plays Terran how it's supposed to be played, how you should learn how to play Terran, and he loves going for regular Marine-based play. This guy, he can open every single way. He's literally a champion and a finalist of ASL. But he is someone that is very likely just going to go Marine Medic Science Vessel and try to overpower you.
Yeah, he's usually not trying to have any curveball builds come out here. He's generally invested in trying to just mechanically defeat you and play with proper theory. Theory that's strong enough that even if you try to outthink him, he probably still comes out on top. If you try to surprise him, he's probably still fine.
Yeah, you have to be like the best in the world to be able to do that to him. His fundamentals, his basics are of the highest order. Okay, so this game, Sulky just started mining his gas, so this is a 3 hatchery opener from him, with the 3rd hatchery being at that very hard-to-attack expansion. The odds of Light ever walking there are almost 0, because it's very hard to do so, but you can end up dropping there. A lot of times you ignore those bases, especially the first one they take, because they do have reduced resources there. Less gas, less minerals per patch. And that is kind of because they're just so hard to attack.
So we have the layers started here. On the T.E.N side of the map, again, this is, if you're going to copy a build order as T.E.N, I mean, this is a great one to do against Zerg. You're going to be safe in your expansion. You're going to try to power up. As a Protoss player, I'm going to, ask you, the T.E.N, for this map especially, what role does this area in the top play in a TVZ on both sides? Because this upper area, you can carve out pathways there, which seems like could lead to counterattacks. Is that a thing, really?
Not as much. Like, I don't think 12 o'clock will really be used. I think eventually someone's going to lock it up so that counterattacks can't come through there. But it's more likely that Sulky will expand far away from Light, and it's pretty likely that Light will just keep heavy pressure on and probably not even go to 4 bases is my guess. I think we're going to see him on 2 to 3 bases for this game.
Okay, the layer's done. The Spire will be the next building to be planted here. Here are those eggs. You can destroy that and then open these areas up.
That's right. And, of course, if you destroy the geysers, it makes it unwalkable terrain. It's just a weird thing with the size of the assimilator compared to the size of the geyser. It's a very old game, so we have lots of very interesting mechanics like this. But as he breaks down those eggs, only workers can glide over eggs because they have mineral walking. But here we have Light just pushing out, and what he's doing is just to force Sulky to make some sunken colonies that uses up some of his drones, some of his economy, so a very nice play from Light. But with the 2 Sunkens, I don't think Light will attack in here. It becomes so dangerous.
He is going to attack in here, apparently. God. I am as surprised as you are, Artosis. We have the Ling's going to come in here, and it seems like there's barely not enough.
This was okay from Light.
Is he going to dive in again, though?
Yeah, I think he is. Now that he has the Fire Bats and he broke one of the Sunkens, the Fire Bats will absolutely murder the Lings.
Now, I don't know. Well, hold on. I'll stop that thought for a second. He's going to burn down these Lings over here, and this will give him access into the main. It looks like 3 units get inside.
Ooh, 2 Fire Bats. This is dangerous.
Yeah, and with a medic here, if he controls this correctly, it's almost impossible to kill this with ground. Well, as I say that, the Hatchling is killed. Does this medic have any energy left over? I think it's actually depleted.
You're probably right. Very, very low at least. And he ends up cleaning it up, but that was actually pretty good for Light. As long as Light gets his turrets up before the mutas get there, this was a very successful little push.
Yeah, I think losing the infantry in an exchange to take out the drones is a worthwhile endeavor. If you succeed in it.
You're forcing a lot of Zerglings. You're taking out one of the sunken colonies. You're, keeping pressure on those drones. They can only make drones or units. You can't really do both at the same time because they both come out of the larva. So really, really nice move there from Light.
Okay, the mutas are coming out now. Now, these are fairly delayed, and I don't think they're going to get almost anything done.
Well,
In
this
fact,
is like
he might even
one
dial
muta.
back how many mutas he's making. Is he just going to have this one? Are there any more that are out?
You do this sometimes as Zerg. It's a very tricky play. And what he's doing is he's making the mutas and showing them. These are more for scouting right now, and you can see that he's gone for a very quick evolution chamber, and he's going directly into Hive. So this is that Mutalisk into Ultralisk play that I was talking about before. It's trending at pretty high popularity for actual professional matches because you get a lot of Ultras with a lot of carapace, and it's quite hard to deal with. But here, I'm not sure exactly what Sulky's up to. We see the Hydralisk Den coming down, so maybe it's going to be carapace upgrades for Lurkers first, and he's not really making many mutas.
Look at the SCVs mining to the expansion. He's actually, the SCVs are stuck on the gas, looping around.
Oh, he has a turret misplaced then.
Yeah, there's a structure that's misplaced. Not the end of the world. Light is certainly in the lead here.
Yeah.
But I don't see much of anything that Zerg really has, right? I mean, Zerg has the ability to maybe not be killed, but it's going to be a difficult one to imagine one where he's going to win this.
Well, we'll see what the teching looks like from both sides here. But right now, Light's move out has forced a lot more sunken colonies and forced some mutas to be made as well. With 5 sunkens there, you don't quite want to attack into that. You're not going to be able to win that as T.E.N, and if you trade out your bio here, you're going to be in big trouble.
And to top it all off, we have, oh wow, okay, so it's going to be a Guardian Rush. Now, I don't know if this was forced or not. We saw the den was made, but then the mutas were also forced to be made because T.E.N.'s coming out with this big infantry. The same idea as these sunken colonies that are forced to be made, which is, in a way, killing drones to some extent. You're forcing them to eliminate workers to build defense. Back at T.E.N.'s home, we're going to have to see if there's enough ready to try to fight this, because these Guardians that are going to be morphing very soon here, is he making 2 Defiler mounts?
Yeah, he is.
Is that a thing? It looks like a mistake.
I haven't seen it, but I bet you he's doing it on purpose. I think he wants to go ahead and just get all the upgrades really quickly here.
Huh.
They're right near each other and like from the same time. So yeah, it kind of feels to me like he might be doing it on purpose.
How cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you ever really see something like that is double Hydralisk Den, which is kind of a cheesy play that you'll see against Protoss from Zerg, but it is doable. It's not the most expensive building in the whole world or anything.
There's that turret we were talking about earlier. He has to take that out to open up this area, so there's circulation. And that Greater Spire is almost done.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about how useful this Greater Spire is going to be. I guess defensive Guardians is what he's going for, because there's no, I mean, if your opponent knows that the Guardians are coming, they generally don't do very well when they're this slow. And there's no real place to attack on blockchain with those, I feel like.
We have a vessel coming out here. Now, this will keep him from dying, which has been a theme here in Sulky's play, but it won't allow him to win. So I want to see what the next steps, the next plans that Sulky has here to try to come in here and actually defeat Light. Because right now, he's really just playing a game of survival.
Well, Light's coming in. This is a huge amount of bio. So this is very, very scary. But the Defilers already consume is done, so this is now completely unbreakable.
Okay, great Plague there.
Yeah, so he wanted Consume and Plague at the same time. That is exactly why he got the 2 Defiler mounts.
So cool.
And that is like the quickest Plague ever.
Okay, redundant Plague in that last shot there. The Defiler, of course, will die to the Irradiate. One thing we want to watch for as well is that getting a 3rd base is a little bit awkward for T.E.N. on this map. Like, you can do it,
yeah,
but it's certainly punishable here. And that might be the game plan here from Sulky, is just the architecture of the map and the way it's all set up and how tough it is for T.E.N. to move around, especially when they have large armies.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things here are going on for Sulky. He's kind of doing all the tech. Guardians, Defilers, Ultralisks. The Cavern's on the way now. It was pretty clear he was going to go Ultralisk just by the speed of the Carapace upgrades this game, but having gone for all these things at once, really, Sulky needs a 4th gas. He can't field enough Ultras to do anything unless he gets like a ton of Plagues off. So we need that 4th gas coming for Sulky soon.
It looked like he might have had plans to take the bottom with his drone over here. And that's a place that's actually hard for T.E.N. to get to, but probably harder for Zerg to defend if Zerg actually commits to it.
Yeah, you're going to need a Nidus to defend that, no doubt about it.
And if a Nidus gets up and there's adequate ground around that, then he can try to defend that. We don't have any dropships out, unless I'm mistaken here. It appears to be purely infantry with medics, and then, of course, vessels as well.
Yeah. He's going to need to make some dropships, though, to be able to take that out.
I really like this expansion over here in the bottom left for the T.E.N. because the center of the map is completely dominated by the T.E.N. So there's really no easy way for Zerg to get down there with anything at all and actually try to do damage. So that may be the saving grace of this position here for Light.
Ooh, nice Irradiate there. Does get rid of one of the vessels. Nice split from Sulky, not losing too many mutas.
And now, oh, hold on. There's some Guardians up here doing some damage.
Oh, this is interesting. He's actually decided to shut this down so Sulky cannot walk through. So once you kill that, no units can walk through this area
There's
anymore.
no way to reverse this now.
Yeah,
this is
closed forever.
Yeah, this is permanent until a new game is started on this map. This is it. So let's find out how this actually works out for him. It does appear that T.E.N. intends to keep Zerg locked on 3 bases and continuously deny the 4th.
Yeah.
This is one of the strategies, overarching strategies we see implored here in StarCraft throughout.
Yeah, this is just like a theme of T.E.N. If you can deny the 4th gas for Zerg, you can kill anything that they bring at you if you're good enough. Really, like I was talking about before, Sulky does need that 4th gas, so that denial with the dropship down at 6 o'clock, that was very powerful. But Sulky has potential here. Lots of Plagues and Ultras can eventually eat through what Light has.
So really, Light's going almost for this pure control contain game.
Yeah.
Which is really fun to see. It's a style of play. It's almost like you see it more in like a Protoss versus Terran, only in this case the Terran's playing the role of the Protoss. Where you see the Zergs do this against Protosses, where it's like Terran's trying to just dominate the whole map and have presence, and it's really up to Zerg to win with a push, which is kind of a unique twist, especially in a situation like this. Is Zerg has to barrel out with this army, cast the right spells, have the right engages, and Light is basically banking on the fact that with Irradiates and good control in a wide open area like this, even if a Dark Swarm goes down, you can outmaneuver it and take a fight somewhere else, and you're never going to get access to the bottom left, and also you'll never be able to expand to the bottom right.
Yeah, at this point, the Science Missile count is really high. The upgrades are getting big. All that Light really is looking to do is just continually cast Irradiate on anything he can get, whether it's a Defiler or an Ultralisk. And if he just keeps doing that, Sulky will literally dry up. He will just not have enough gas to produce anything anymore. You can look at the bank right now.
Oh my God.
Look at how low his gas is.
I don't mean to run over your toes. I got to point this out. He has 2 medics underneath an eBay at the ramp.
Yes, so
that's so cool.
If you hold position those medics, you have anything behind it that shoots, the only Zerg thing that can break that is Lurkers.
Exactly.
Nothing else can break it. It is an awesome way to hold a ramp.
And so this is just absolutely beautiful play here.
Light is just immaculate.
Yeah, this is a real treat to cast, to be honest with you, because it's like, Sulky's playing really well, by the way. He's not really making any glaring mistakes at all, but Light is just cornering the whole structure of this game and pinning it into his favor. I mean, the whole shape this game has taken, Light is wielding perfectly.
Yeah, he's doing such a good job with his Irradiates. You see, these are very small amounts of Ultras coming out, like 4 at a time, and you're not going to be able to break through here. All right, another drop comes down. Looks like that Guardian is actually going to do his job very, very well and help to hold on here.
Now, as interesting of a position that Light has had to stretch this game out, I think Sulky's actually fought his own corner into his control. This bottom right area, Sulky had to seize and defend. He has to defend it now. We're going to see if he can. If he defends this, we're going to be in for a long and dramatic game, but it appears that Light is ready to pounce and will be pushing in right now.
Oh my God, he's done so much damage to these Ultras. If there's not a Defiler that comes out, he will bust this.
A Defiler does come out though, and will there be a Dark Swarm? It looks like there should be. There it is, and that means T.E.N has to give up this position. Had that Dark Swarm not landed, T.E.N would have chewed his way to the hatchery, killed it, and of course then killed the hatchery in the bottom right.
Yeah, the Dark Swarm really saves absolutely everything there. I think he's out of Irradiates as well as he runs away. So this gives Sulky some more time. He's mining from a 4th gas very shortly here. If he can just keep this position held, he'll go up to 5 gases, and this is going to be a real game.
Okay, so this is a pretty dramatic hold here. I want to point out real quick, Light is at 175 supply, whereas Sulky is at 101. Now, don't think of that as T.E.N in the lead. A lot of times, Zergs are in incredibly low supply, holding this until they can get themselves into a position where, that's really winnable. The Zerg can really have it sometimes in both ways. A lot of times, it would seem like, okay, hold on. Let's see if he actually takes this one vessel out. So he does. Zerg are able to hold a lot off, sometimes so little it's insane, and then eventually fight their way back into a tech that is unstoppable.
Well, we see Sulky right now at 109 supply. You can hold on a long time with that with Defiler tech. Obviously, if he can't really ever get above that, then Light will eventually get him, but you're definitely right. This is not a game that's over by any means, even though there's a huge supply advantage for Light.
So assuming that neither player is able to make great headway, we're going to have to start focusing on the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock expansion eventually. But hold on. We have an attack coming in up here and a drop over here in the bottom right. as Light is trying to force the small numbers of Zerg units to be stretched too thin, as Light is hitting too many places at once, at least in Light hopes so.
Yeah, he's trying to go absolutely everywhere right now because Sulky's defense has been amazing. The fact that he's still held on to these bottom right bases is a testament to how good he is. I mean, he just continually is producing those defilers, getting them down to where they need to be. And you see that Light is being forced into some different tech routes now. We saw some factories spinning at the bottom left. Very likely, Light will make a bunch of siege tanks now to make sure he can hold on to his side of the map because he knows that if Sulky breaks out, those fringe expansions are going to be impossible to hold without tanks.
And as you can see, I mean, when Dark Swarm is here, it's just really hard to actually, and I shouldn't even say hard, it's basically physically impossible to win a fight for Terran under the Dark Swarm. I mean, you can do it with Fire Bats, but when you consider even how cheap a Fire Bat is, and then compare that to how insanely cheaper a Zergling is, and the economics are really at play there.
And one Ultra kills like 20 Fire Bats, so Terran just doesn't really have melee units is the thing. So Dark Storm is just a great weapon against them.
People that might be into sci-fi lore, I understand why they might instinctively think, Ultralisks, I need to get Fire Bats. No. No, they're actually just not good. The damage types don't match well in favor of the Fire Bat.
All right, we have a bunch of dropships coming out now. So Light's going to try attacking into some different areas. Looks like there's an Ultralisk here to help defend, so this is not as easy to break as he might have thought. Look at this great defense from Sulky.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, but these drops might start to add up. You know, it's really a juggling act here for the Zerg to try to defend all these different places. The Terran drops, as many places as they can, and they basically want to see what sticks.
Yeah.
You know, is one of these places going to be a little bit too brittle? And is that going to be the small push that eventually allows the Zerg to be toppled? Because right now, again, Light is leaning in hard to aggression, and it's going to be up to Sulky to defend.
Yeah. And he is nailing irradiates left and right. Really, this is why he is in this game and winning this game. The radiates are doing everything, but Sulky is starting to counter them reasonably well. We see some burrow play, so the eraser move doesn't work.
Yeah, that's basically a must in positions like this, is to burrow your units, because otherwise Terran's going to get so much value. It would be nice to have some Scourge coming. I'm sure they're being hatched soon.
Yeah.
Because he needs to do more than just defend that in the sense of not losing the drones. He needs to fight back and kill those vessels.
Okay, now we do see a lot of tanks being popped up in the bottom left. The tanks are going to be amazing defensively, but it's kind of hard to field them in an attack. We'll see maybe a little bit later on in the game, Light can start using some of those. Also, time for him to get some battle cruisers. It might actually be a little bit late for this switch into battle cruisers, but they can be very helpful in these types of situations.
Yeah, and this is an idea that's been introduced off and on, but it seems to be here to stay in TVZ. Is now, okay, hold on, first Defiler Mount is going to go down. Now, this is actually one of the most significant locations to attack because all of the Zerg's tech is in this area. It takes out an Evo chamber, shouldn't matter too much. That can be remade if he needs to. I don't know what the upgrades are for Zerg, did you see?
He has to have 5 carapace
right?
by now.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
And if it's the melee one, you don't care as much. Obviously, any upgrade snipe is nice. Yeah, he's at 2.5, so.
You nailed it, yeah. But, again, if Terran can actually take out anything in the main, like the Hive and then the other tech structures, that would be a big hiccup.
Yeah.
That could cost the Zerg in the long run.
All right, some more irradiates. Sulky coming out onto the map a little bit more now, trying to poke his way out. You can see the difference, right? Light's been basically maxed out or close to the entire time. Last time we were talking about supplies, Sulky was down at, what, 108?
Yeah.
Now he's up at 133. He's starting to gain a little bit of ground in that regard, but some of his bases are getting mined out, so he needs to continue this.
Now, Terran, by the way, does have this upgrade over here on the siege tanks, +1 range attack here.
Oh my
great
God.
Plague there.
That plague was so good.
I am very curious to hold on. We have another attack coming here. I keep trying to talk big picture, and then something really exciting happens here.
Yeah, I know. The plagues are just madness. Look at that. 4 siege tanks plague down to nothing.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to erase this.
Yeah, 1 tank shot with Splash will actually kill all those tanks.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm even surprised he decided to do this over here.
Oh, defense matrix, but that doesn't actually work that well because you get some damage through defense matrix, so you don't actually defense matrix stuff that's almost dead.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the battle cruisers are attacking at the top. This is really just relentless play here from Light. I mean, he is truly an extraordinary player as far as the control game goes. By the way, this is exhausting on both sides.
Yes.
This is a real, especially for T.E.N and Zerg, mechanically to keep up with this is very hard to do. Now, okay, actually the Observer even beats me to it. I wanted to see where is the minerals and gas at everywhere on the map, and Sulky's actually done a good job splitting drones where all these bases are basically mining, which is important. You don't want to just mine out your first 3 bases and then you're completely reliant on the bottom 2. He actually has his drones forked out very evenly on each, so they should deplete roughly all around the same time.
Yeah, so, and to mention about the gas, because gas goes depleted, which goes from 8 mining to 2 mining. Now, at this moment, the first 3 bases Sulky had are definitely mined out. They're definitely depleted. So he's basically on 2 2/3, or 2 3/4 gas right now.
So the tanks are edging forward. And now there's a push up here at the main, or towards the main, I should say. This is excellent defense by Light, by the way.
Yeah, the siege tanks are so crucial here. He has a bunker up there as well. Looks like Light just trying to break this front, but what is he really getting done there? If this army gets killed, I feel like that's a very good moment for Sulky.
I actually would love it if we could check the main here in the bottom left, because I don't know how mined out the T.E.N is in the other expansions. You know, T.E.N has a lot of SCVs at times in these games.
Oh my God.
Oh wow, that's a big attack, taking out so many drones.
Yeah, that is a huge amount of drones taken out. But look at this, the dark swarms. Siege tanks in these medium numbers are not the killers they are with a full mech army under Dark Swarm.
I do
so
worry.
All the tanks got cleaned up again. He's lost so far, like, what, 20 tanks?
Yeah.
I'm not joking. He's lost a lot of siege tanks, and that's the thing. A lot of times you'll switch into the siege tanks as at first defensive measure and then start using them aggressively. But it's very hard because you don't have the full upgrades. And while tanks can be useful and can be helpful, you're not in the splatter everything zone that a mech army is. You're in a bio zone where the tanks in certain positions are amazing. But like we keep seeing, when he gets Darkstorm, when he gets Plagued, he doesn't have enough to clean it up.
It almost seemed like Light wanted to force the circle shape through the square hole with his army, you know? Like he just wanted to wheel through the Dark Swarm, and I think in moments he really traded in effectively. Yeah. There were periods where there was at least, I don't know, something like 60 supply just parked, and then Dark Swarm goes down and Zerg trades so efficiently it's insane. Look at that. I love that. Burrows the Zerglings under the command center.
And he had to irradiate them to get rid of them.
How cost inefficient is that?
That is the worst irradiates you'll ever see.
There's a rare moment where you see forced inefficiency with spellcasters, Artosis.
Yeah. Okay, so Sulky is actually much lower in supply now, but the bank of Light is gone. He doesn't have any extra minerals sitting around. You can see Sulky is on the verge of breaking some areas here, such as the natural going into the main.
So another push is coming here from Zerg, and you know what seemed to be pure domination, or at least control here with Sulky up on the ropes for most of this game, it's taken a bit of a twist, Artosis. We're now seeing the comeback. Sulky is chewing his way through the map, and besides this little wall of medics and marines here, there's not much defending, and finally we have an expansion taken at 6.
Yeah, that took a while.
We mentioned this, I think, like 19 minutes ago, 18 minutes ago, where we said eventually, if the game goes on long enough, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock will be the most significant locations. I don't know that the center can be taken by either side for too long. I guess only time will tell. That would be awesome if we had a fight in the center. But I think most certainly 12 and 6 are important. And already Zerg's taking control of 6. And 6 is not a place you just will your way through with siege tanks and marines either.
No, it's very difficult, especially if he knocks it all down, right? You have to start doing drops and whatnot. I do want to mention, you talked about the center base. That actually might be a reasonable call because he's on bio, he's on siege tanks. If he can choke up this map, that's going to help, because when you do not have map control against Ultralisk Defiler, things go haywire very quickly for T.E.N. Because nothing is really going to kill the Ultralisks when they're under Dark Swarm. So you need to be controlling the map against this type of composition. So I think setting up in the middle is not like the worst idea.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I guess I dismissed it, but I really imagine. I guess even in TVP, there's these games where T.E.N just has to take the center and kind of hold it out.
It's a rare situation, but it comes up.
And let me actually even expand on that idea, because I guess if Zerg, Zerg is not going to be using the bottom or the top as a launching pad for attacks. You know what I mean?
That's
it's just like it's going to be a marooned location that Zerg is going to try to exploit as much as possible. But yeah, maybe if Zerg gets 6, I don't know about 12 yet. But Terran's going to have to take somewhere. I believe the bottom left main should be almost mined up. I'm not sure if I've got the numbers right on that, but that's my sense.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. The bottom left main is getting low. He needs to think about taking another base, and I think the center might be it. Now he's sending some BCs over here. The Scourge come in and kill one of them. The other one's still left alive here. If he can get that hatchery, obviously that's huge for him.
I don't know if this is completely correct, but let me just get out here and say this. These battle cruisers, these vessels, although they're gas intensive, they're also mineral intensive. Scourge are actually very, very cheap with minerals.
Yeah.
And gas is, in fact, an infinite resource, although the ability to gather that slows down.
Yeah.
It is technically an infinite resource.
Yep.
Although there is nothing that costs pure gas, thank God. It's worth pointing out that, you might be in a situation where just hurling Scourge into these units is going to trade way more effectively when there's super limited resources on the map.
Could be.
Oh my God! He's got a burrow! He's got a burrow!
Oh my God! That was a huge eraser out of Light, killing so much off right there.
I'm not sure what we just missed in the top center, but it does seem like there's not much to defend here for Zerg. I never saw a Nidus there. Was there one at 6?
At this base?
Yeah.
No. He actually just killed the eggs, so he's just running units in from that bottom right main. All right, now you see some of these Dark Storms still doing some reasonable work, but that is getting to be a lot of siege tanks with +2. Now in the meantime, a very nifty push here from Light down at 6 o'clock. I love it. Having the siege tanks over on the left-hand side, using some dropships to ferry over Marines and luring units into siege tank range. Light being as efficient as he can at this moment, still at twice the supply of Sulky, but Sulky holding on here somehow.
So the bottom left main is mined out. I would have to imagine just the way that the work distribution may pan out that the natural in the bottom left might mine out. Zerg is still barely getting by on the bottom right and the natural there. I don't know who mines out here, but this is where we got to pay very close attention to the centers being taken.
Yeah. Well, it's really the last base that's reasonable for Light.
Yeah.
I tell you, this is an epic game to start the night out with.
Yeah, this is already great half-hour game. We're off to an excellent start here. I'm glad we got a game like this, too. There's a little bit of downtime for us casting StarCraft 1 since ASL's finished, so this is a treat.
So Light right now, he's kind of tightening the noose, right? He's got units on both sides, just kind of marching towards Sulky's area. The top and the bottom have been cut off, so you can't really walk anything through. He'd need drops to get anywhere else. So Light is forcing him to fight in these choke points, which is working very well for Light.
Another small attack over here. I think if there's one thing that's being neglected a little bit, and it's not by fault of skill or anything, it's hard to do on this map, but Sulky seems to be neglecting the bottom a little bit. Now, these Lings actually trade fairly efficiently when they dive on these tanks.
But Sulky's got so little left now, right?
I think we're seeing him in his death throes here.
Well, let's see. Another Dark Storm goes up right there. Can he get another one up?
Yeah.
Oh, he does indeed.
Masterfully done.
I tell you, this is kind of the funny thing that can happen here. Their Radiant Ultralisk does end up falling, but Light has to pull back for a moment.
I think Light's very close to ending this game.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Well, it feels like Sulky's about to give up, is what it really feels like, because it is hard to actually finish it.
I think he's about to dry up, is what you mean. And he's not going to have any income, any resources, anything he can do. And besides what's already in the bank here for T.E.N, I think that the options to mine, it appears that actually T.E.N can probably take all remaining expansions. And even the remaining Lings trying to fight back for the Zerg would still be cost inefficient for him then.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Sulky still fighting. All right, throws down that Dark Storm.
Does T.E.N ever want to get Yamato for the BCs? You want to try to zap the filers?
If you're making a lot and you think that they aren't going on one-way missions, absolutely 100%. Cool. It's awesome. But it takes a long time for a Yamato to have enough energy for it, basically. Wow, that's Just so much Vessel energy. The Vessel's the MVPs of this game, no doubt about that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, just, you can get so much out of those abilities.
Sulky running with his last remaining Ultralisk right there. His supply is starting to dip down to the level where you can't really make much of a battle.
Right.
Oh, but look at that. Another Dark Storm. Defense Matrix Firebats doing their best. Irradiate as well. You can see that Ultra just not dying until the tank siege up.
This is pretty crazy, this attack over here. GG. Wow, what a great game to start things off.
That was epic. That was an amazing game that we just saw.
And, that was a special game in the sense that that's what happens on a map like that in those positions when it goes on for that long.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
I got to say, I thought that it was an amazing match, really back and forth, both players showing why they're so good. I was a little bit confused on Sulky and how far he tried to stretch his 3 gases. The Guardians, I wasn't so sure about.
The defensive Guardian play?
Yeah, when he was also going double Defiler Den and that many Sunk-ins and trying to get Carapace upgrades for his Ultras.
I don't know
Did he
about...
really need the Guardians? Did they really do anything?
Well, it was cool to see Dark or Consume and Plague both upgraded, but I mean, is that really that worthwhile to just hold off that attack? It almost seems like you don't want that game to go for that long because of that exactly. I don't know, though. I don't know. That level of TVZ is outside of my wheelhouse. I don't know.
Well, don't worry. We're going to have a PVZ coming up next. This was just great, though. What an epic, awesome game to start on. Guys, please tell your friends, spread the word that T.E.N is on the esports night. And damn, is this an esports night if I've ever seen one.
Might be an esports morning for some of you guys, but whatever time it is.
Might be for us if we keep having games like that.
Yeah, we might be here for a long time. We might be taking taxis home instead of the train. So that's really an example of what can happen in a StarCraft game and how it almost came down to every single resource location. I guess 12 o'clock was a little bit neglected there, but really, Sulky mined out, and that's how he lost.
Yeah.
Sulky could have probably stayed in the game for another 3 or 4 minutes until he truly had no more minerals, but he saw the writing on the wall. There are games that become so epic, so crazy, that the entire map is being utilized. Every location has a role and a pressure point and a theme that, each race is trying to exploit or utilize. So cool.
Yeah, only 12 o'clock was never taken. Every other expansion of the map was. 12 o'clock was just the home to the battle cruiser upgrade.
The physics lab.
The physics lab, whatever that thing's called. That was just what a great game. And Light wins it. I think well-deserved. I think he played a very strong, solid game. Very Light-esque.
Yes. That's one way where T.E.N, and this is actually, I would say, one of the more traditional ways that T.E.N dominated over the history of StarCraft was Medic Marine pushing out with vessels, controlling the Zerg, limiting their movement. When T.E.N, when they stim, if the Zerg's not ready, and it's why we see them rush into Ultralisks and Defilers, T.E.N will just tear through any Zerg, anything. Maybe not well-positioned lurkers, but Stim Marines are crazy versus Zerg.
Yeah.
And so Zerg, I think, defended well, got the tech up. But look, blockchain, the middle of the map is so open. There's so many locations. Zerg throws down a Dark Swarm, T.E.N backs up.
Yeah.
It's another area. Zerg is not going to have enough Dark Swarms basically ever to push through an entire T.E.N army and actually hit the other side of the map.
Yeah, it's a very good point, especially with Light playing, because he knows that he just has to keep irradiating. He keeps little pockets of Marines out front, and that's so that the vessels can kind of get up there and irradiate what they need to irradiate, because that's how you gain value over time against Zerg. If he doesn't have all those irradiates all game long, Sulky wins that hands down easily.
It's crazy. Again, though, I think even though Light took that, and I was kind of leaning towards Light taking the game, to be honest, before we started because of how well he's been playing, Sulky looks really good.
Yeah, he looked very strong.
I would love to see how Sulky looked on another map, It was really something.
Yeah. Well, he's playing against Bisu next.
Yeah.
I forget which map it was.
Neo-Sylphid.
Neo-Sylphid. Oh, perfect. I love this map.
This is going to be a PvZ to die for, Artosis.
Yeah, cannot wait.
Bisu Sulky on Neo-Sylphid.
Who do you think takes that? You watch a lot of Bisu nowadays. Who takes this?
I think Bisu can take it for sure, but Bisu, when he loses, it's usually in the early game. He tends to not struggle that much against pushes, but some of these Zergs nowadays in very modern ZVP are very good with lurkers and turtling. Although I would say Nilo Silphid doesn't lend itself to be the best turtling map. Some maps like Circuit Breakers, you take the third, you're probably going to be able to turtle at the fourth too. That it's almost like a free extension. It's a hard ramp to get to. Neo Silphid, every base is basically a standalone, with the exception of the natural and the other starting location.
Yeah, no one really takes that very early. Everyone's always taking the high ground bases on Silphid and CVP.
Yeah. You take the high ground bases and the mineral bases, and occasionally those more central bases.
Yeah.
But it forces the Zerg to stay honest, and the Protoss as well. I mean, obviously both races in a PvZ can turtle on the high ground areas. It's why you want to be hyper vigilant. Terran too. All the races, if you have a tiny high ground area, you can just stay up there and defend and put some defenses. Anyways, guys, game 2 is ready. It's going to be a PvZ. Sulky versus Bisu. Let's do this. So we've got Zerg in the bottom left and Protoss in the bottom right.
Very cool. Do you see this as more of a gateway expand map or a forge expand map?
Oh, it's either one.
Yeah?
They're both completely viable.
Just, very comfortable either way?
Yeah. I actually think most maps you can basically do the forge expand or the gateway expand, and it's fine. Now we'll see what BC wants to do. It seems like if it really matters, he tends to like the gateway expand a little bit more. He's proven to be very effective and active with his zealots. He seems to really have a good idea of where the Zerg is not going to be. Like, he'll hide these zealots in the funniest spots and then come in later on and hit drones and all sorts of stuff. But a forge expand is, of course, also completely viable and fine.
All right. Excited to see what Bisu has for us here. Definitely, the guy who helped StarCraft to be what it is by figuring out a really fantastic way to play this matchup.
Here it
now,
is.
there is that gateway, yeah. All right, so a little bit of a zealot pressure early on here.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, out of all the new, very standard builds, this is the one. And I know it's been out for years, but look, the game's 22 years old, so there's a lot of history here. This is probably the most modern approach to the matchup that still involves basically playing safe and expanding. This only came after, more than a decade and a half of Protoss figuring out every possible tech option Zerg have and realizing, you actually can have a slow drip of zealots coming across the map, or backing up if they make too many lings. You just back up and expand anyways, and you use the zealots later on. It's a very versatile build.
Definitely do like seeing it, especially in the hands of someone like Bisu. Wouldn't really recommend it for anyone new. It's really hard to multitask this correctly and do the right choices with the zealots. A lot of hard decisions have to be made.
Yeah, if you mess up with one of the zealots, or you don't realize you can attack in, or it's also weird because occasionally you'll see the players just throw the zealots out there because they need to guarantee they're not getting all in. So there's a lot of bumps in this build, but the ideas behind it are pretty intelligent. But it's one of these, I guess you could call it like a tightrope walk build. Some TVP openers, it's like you're barely going to stay alive, but if you do this correctly, you're ahead.
Absolutely.
And if you practice it, hundreds of games, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Same thing with this. And you can do a very safer version of this build where you just go forge first, and you just can't up, and then you make some zealots, and it's like much easier.
Yeah, definitely. I know exactly the one you're talking about.
This kind of keeps the Zerg honest. And so Sulky takes his third base on the high ground location. I know some Zergs like to take it at the mineral only.
8 circlings being made. Is this a normal counter against this type of play?
Well, what this means is that the Zerg wants to take a fight and is going to try to exploit the the brittleness of the Protoss' entrance, and even the best players lose to this.
Yeah,
and
it looks a little bit scary,
I think
actually.
That the Zerg, he sees something Bisu or we didn't, because he basically realized there was a blind spot in the counting, the scouting, excuse me. And this is hard for Protoss, because Protoss is going to have to defend the main. The Lings are going to go there and hit probes. He's got to make cannons, defend the entrance, and try to clog that entrance. 3 Lings can kill a probe very quickly, by the way.
Yeah.
And I believe that Zergling's speed should be inbound, but it's also possible there's a Hydra bus coming.
Yeah.
So Protoss has to do like 8 different things at once here. And someone like Sulky is going to be very good at maneuvering here. Now, he's going to go for layer tech, so it's much more standard, which is also good.
Definitely makes Bisu a bit more safe, but if he starts losing a bunch of probes to these Lings, he's in trouble. That was beautiful micro from Bisu right there,
It's
though.
pretty crazy how good he is at like not losing probes ever in these fights.
Yeah. This is something that you really see amongst the very best of each race, is their worker control is just a step above.
So this is the sign of exactly why Bisu's such a great player. He didn't stay back and try to defend. He just sent his zealots across the map, and he's looking for drones to kill. I think if he did this a little bit better, he would have had the ramp covered and then had the one zealot just killing drones. But he's just immediately lashing back out on the map. And this is taking the moment where Protoss should have been slowed down, and he's just going to throw these out on the map, confident that there won't be any more Lings to counterattack. He'll probably have the entrance blocked. And here he's going to take these zealots. He's going to try to move them in between like the minerals and the refinery so that he gets a better fight. So they're fighting in a narrow position. And this is just you getting more value out of it. And look, he even sent a 4th zealot in here.
My God. Bisu's zealot control is just art.
Now, that was a good catch there by Sulky. It is possible in this position to get 2 zealots blocking this and then have a probe attack through the worker line and hit the drones. Although there's not enough drones. I mean, you could just move the drones to other patches, but that was sort of a little tactic he could have done there.
Well, I tell you, this seemed to me like Bisu just microed out of his mind right there. Some beautiful control with the zealots, pulling them back at the right times, forcing as many Lings as he possibly could. Obviously, Sulky wants to be making drones right now. But Sulky has decided his tech route. He's going directly into the Spire. Do you think this is going to be for Mutas with the second gas?
With his second gas, it absolutely can be, yes. He might just get some Scourge, though. You know, at this level of play, sometimes... Well, let's also keep in mind, Bisu hasn't scouted this, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And he was staying heavy on the ground. Yeah, I think actually it could very well be Mutas.
It feels like a Muta build to me here. Just having that second gas so quickly, I feel like he's going to dive in on him. Now, if Bisu doesn't have cannons ready, I mean, that could be game.
Certainly. It's one thing that happens when you have this type of build is you're trying to stay in the Zerg's face so much with these zealots, but it does mean your Corsair gets a later scout. A lot of times if you do a forge opening, your Corsair gets a scout before the Spire's even done. In this case, the Spire's done, right? It's done.
I think it's just finishing
Just now finishing.
Okay, he gets in there. Yeah, everything's in the eggs right now.
He's going to check for the second gas here. He sees that. And let's see if he does commit to the Mutas. Sometimes you don't have to, right? Sometimes you can just get the second gas and make them overreact and make cannons and stay back. And,
yeah.
You know, it works out nicely. Kind of like we saw the one Muta made early on in the previous game against Light, where you're hoping he makes a lot of cannons. Because it almost seems like he's setting up for 6 hatch.
Yeah,
again, guys, this is very advanced stuff.
Well, we have 3 hatches up at that third base, and then a couple right here. So, yeah, this is 6 hatchery play. You're right about that. And we don't really see Mutas yet.
Okay, I think he just made them. We just saw the gas drop.
Okay.
But, yeah, we were kind of waiting for a little bit. That's the thing is you can get the Mutas later, too.
So he's like, this is almost like a double fake.
Yeah. I mean, there's just, you know, you see them mining gas. You never can see what their resources are, of course, so you just sort of don't know. But, I mean, Bisu has the Corsairs out. It looks like Sulky's banking the Mutas. He wants to try to hide them. But, you know, a lot of this is going to come down to the dogfight in the air between the Mutalisks and the Corsairs and the Scourge and everything.
Yeah.
There's only one cannon here. Now, look, he's making it look like he's just scouting with 2 Scourge, and he's going to back off. So this is all shadows and mirrors here, Artosis.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I want to see when he's actually going to show those Mutas. Like, is he going to actually wait for a full move out?
He might.
But the thing is, Bisu's prodding for information right now. He's bringing out enough Zealots. You're going to have to show your mutas, aren't
Okay,
you?
so he's going to look at this. He ignores. Oh, the Zealots have spotted that, and you can see it. He's scrambling. He's going to make an Archon. I think there are probably 2 more cannons being made over here.
He sends 1 Zealot up into this 3rd base. Obviously, that'll be dealt with easily. The other Zealot's running off, trying not to be caught by the mutas. He even gets a drone with it. Well done.
Yeah, he's got a lot of mutas here. This is very interesting to watch. Normally, you see players dive in. Now, look, Sulky's done some super advanced 4D chess stuff where maybe this is a weird thing where he wants the player to overinvest. Like, for instance, he made an Archon there, kind of panic move. That's 2 less storms. Maybe this is one of these weird things. I don't know, guys. I might be wrong, but just kind of being passive with the Mutalisks and showing the Scourge, but never actually diving. Maybe he knows that when the next wave of Hydras come out, he's going to be in good shape. Again, hard to say.
That is a lot of mutas out right now. With that Archon in there, it's definitely going to be hard to connect with Scourge, as Archon's one-shot Scourge. Be able to take out this Overlord. Here come the Scourge, but Bisu backing up right now.
There's got to be so much confidence on both sides to be moving on the map here.
Yeah.
One misstep, and especially in this unit set, one misstep, and you've lost the game. Okay, so the only threat now is going to be the Archon, but Bisu's got... Oh, this I don't know. I don't even know how this is going to go, man. This is so weird.
Gosh, yeah, no, this is a crazy situation. I love that he has that +1 carapace now, so he actually has potential. Look at this. He's spotting where that Archon's at. The huge fleet of Scourge still flying around. The mutas diving into the main base for a second. Oh, the Archon's getting some hits. So
this has become a very abnormal ZVP here. He's going to try if Zerg wins the fight, which is much harder, by the way, now that there's 2 Archons out here. You know, big picture, Archons have almost no range, but their splash damage is insane, and mutas clump up. So 2 Archons can just, you know, in a few shots, obliterate the Mutalisks. But at the same time, you know, Bisu's been kind of roaming here looking for a fight, and Sulky's juking and jiving around him and not really engaging. There's no way Bisu can get up there now.
No.
So it's a powering 2 base versus a powering 3 base.
A lot of Hydras out right now. Look at this. Okay, he's actually deciding to attack, it looks like.
I don't know if this works either, though, but let's see.
I'm not so sure, but he's got those 2 Archons. Let's see what he does. This forces the mutas back a little bit, but Bisu decides not to fully engage.
It's funny, because he can't really lose a fight in the middle of the map. The Protoss can't, but he also can't take out any positions here for the Zerg, so...
You know, when Psystorm's done, maybe he can get a good one off on those Scourge.
Well, you say that, but that's exactly why these mutas are... What is he doing? He misclicked there.
Yeah,
Huge misclick. And actually...
Storm's not done.
Yeah, but also the Zerg blew that big time.
Yeah.
2 Templars that could have been killed. He clicked on the Nexus.
Twice.
Yeah, and then damaged a Templar and freaked out and ran out of there. He couldn't take it, man.
Yeah, no, that's like me in social situations as a teenager, Tasteless.
Yeah, it's too much.
I hit the Nexus twice and freak out and get out of there.
Yeah, he just bailed. And that means that Bisu, you know, I think fortunately for him, is going to be in a pretty decent position. Hold on.
Whoa.
Now, if he controls this correctly, he can box it in. He does not control it correctly again. And now, great. There's a good example of the Archon strength.
Yeah.
Just one-shots it out of the sky.
Look how many storms he's going to have.
Yeah.
I mean, with this many storms, this many Zealots, Bisu's army is starting to look unbeatable.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why we don't normally see Zerg just only make Mutalisks. And even here...
Ooh, yeah, even with Scourge hits.
Yeah. It's a better investment to have a Hydras or to tech in a Hive.
Well, there are a lot of Hydras coming, but it feels like Bisu's winning every battle on every front.
Well, I think that Sulky, in a strange way, kind of painted himself into a corner here, right? I mean, he invested in this tech, and Bisu was basically set up, right? Bisu couldn't kill anything, but Zerg also wasn't getting any further ahead. And this is sort of a traditional unit composition defeating the kind of abstract unit composition. And creativity wins sometimes, but other times orthodox play is... There's a reason why everybody's doing it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We have lurkers out now. I don't believe that there's any robo yet.
So there has to be, right?
I don't know, man.
You always get a robo no matter what. I mean, just knowing that there's a layer and Hydra's out. If you don't have a robo, there has to be a robo.
I don't see an observer
anywhere.
I refuse. I refuse to believe.
Okay, I mean, I still don't know if Protoss can 100% break this.
Well, there's not that much left over anymore, but the eggs are actually causing these like impossible areas. And a flank coming in. Sulky gonna do his best to try to break through.
Great storms here. We have Dragoons out. Where are the observers, Rotosas? Are you actually right?
Of course I'm right, Tasteless.
No, there's no way, man. I refuse to believe that there's no robo out this
Show me the observer. If he had a robo, there would be an observer with the army by now.
I don't know what to say, but yeah, I mean, he's not getting a robo. Once they have layer tech and you see any Hydras, there it is.
Well, now he has it. That
is a late robo. That's a little bit surprising. When you see Hydra's out for long enough, and you know that they're on 3 bases, and they're not gonna take a 4th and fend off with Hydras when you're dominating this hard. The only thing they have is lurkers.
Oh, that was a crazy storm, dealing so much damage there. Bisu's army movement just impeccable. He's back and forth, poking and prodding everywhere. Feels like Sulky's being picked apart.
Yeah, what he's doing is he knows that Sulky has to take some spot on the map, and that means the army has to be positioned. So he just runs in there and smashes the army and runs away. And there's just no comfortable expansion spot on the map.
Bisu continuing to roam a bit here. That 3rd base so hard to break. I don't think he's ever really going to attack up there all the way. He's just going to keep pretending he's going to.
Well, the nail in the coffin will be Bisu's 4th base. Protoss is not supposed to out-expand a Zerg and lose. You know, if you out-expand and you keep it, then this is...
Yeah.
The
it's
game
like the nail in the coffin type situation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're on 4 bases, first of all, Protoss is nearly maxed out. It can take almost any fight except for Zerg turtling on the territory that we have. Here's the big explosion of lurkers that I was talking about. And this is the only way, and this is Zerg's Alamo here. He needs to get this base up in the upper left corner. We don't have a shot of it, but it's at the mineral only. And there's only one observer here. I hate to be too critical of Bisu, but if this is going to be held, it's because Hydra sniped the observer. But
yeah.
I think even then there's just so much. Here comes the 2nd observer as well.
Right, a big flank coming in, but the Protoss army looking very, very strong at the moment. Just cutting through a side storm on nothing but guts.
Yeah. And I do believe that eventually Protoss just kind of bullies his way through this and takes out the one last hope that Sulky has. Because Sulky, look, he's not going to mine out right away, but you're never going to be able to match a Protoss that's on 4 bases. You can see probes being transferred there now. Now he's getting the fruits of that 4th base. And look at that. You just saw Sulky lean back in his chair as he knows he's probably going to lose this game too and be last in his group.
Yeah, it does look that way. Like he's not going to put any points on the board for the Zerg team.
I want to point out, you see every time Bisu runs back, that's because he's trying to catch a control group coming at a different angle.
Yeah.
It's really hard for Zerg with all the different control groups to come in the right angles and then retreat again.
Yeah.
Especially dodging storms and all that. So he's kind of move back, move forward, move back, move forward, because he knows probably the only way that he can hold this is if... Oh, hold on. Is he going to try to push through?
Well, he's picking off units at the front. Seems very worthwhile to me with this size of an army he has. Almost maxed out. This matchup not as much like T.E.N versus Zerg, where you can have half the supply and hold on for another 25 minutes. Definitely.
Well, you can if you have the base. If you have a base, you can use eggs and turtle it up, and you control the high ground. And
well,
then
that's what the 3rd base has been doing that all day. But
right, but this 4th base, I almost feel like Bisu was a little bit too conservative. I know it's easy for us to say because we see everything, but Zerg really didn't have anything.
Well, best of 1, like I kind of get it, you know?
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, if you've really got the game, close it out in the most sure way you can.
That shuttle drop usually shows that he's going to try to come in here with a killing blow. To drop somewhere and just try to draw some of the army away. Again, we're still waiting. I get what Bisu's thinking is it's really hard to push into that 4th base, and it's really easy to be surrounded from there.
Yeah,
and also when you push into that 4th base, the mineral only, sometimes they can cut off all your reinforcements, so you better be as ready as
Well,
humanly possible.
Tasis, this is kind of getting funny in a way. Like, he's trying to break this right now, utilizing these Dragoons, but like you said, you can come in and flank this army. I like how he actually brought a bunch of his army away so he can flank a flank at that point. That's really smart. But, if you wait too long, Sulky did start his hive, right? So you can get into Defiler Tech.
Yeah, exactly. And Defiler Tech is just a whole other can of worms here for the Protoss to deal with. But, the thing about Sulky is he's so resourceful.
Yeah.
In all these situations. Anything that looks like, any Berserk player would die in, he'll just hang on and drag the game out and then try to find a lead somewhere else. He's already keeping that observer count pretty low. And by the way, with these Zealots just tearing through here, he's saying, push has come to shove, I need to take a fight. And I'll tell you what, he's basically killed the majority of the Lurkers, which is the only line of defense that Zerg has.
Yeah.
And I think now we're going to see him dive on the 4th finally. Talk about patience here from Bisu.
Really?
I think
he waited forever to win this game.
This is almost inadvisably patient for most other players in the game, but he did it, he pulled it off. And that's the killing blow. Very, very cautiously executed there by Bisu.
So well played. I loved his defense of those mutas with the double Archon play, just making sure that the Muta Scourge wasn't going to do anything. And you could see that those units over time just did not scale like Bisu's army did.
Yeah, it was an interesting moment because you can see what he wanted to do was just dominate, take out the Corsairs, and then, it's really hard for Protoss to push out once their Corsair count's been eliminated if Muta Tech's an option, because the Corsairs come out one at a time.
Yeah.
And the Corsairs are only good when you have about 5 or more.
Yeah.
That's when they can actually take a fight and win. So if you take out all their Corsairs, they're back to square one. Or maybe they have a Dark Archon or something they can do.
Yeah, some sort of tricky move.
Yeah, some tricky move with that. But Bisu is just patient.
Yeah.
He stayed on the map. And so Sulky couldn't actually take a fight in the middle of the map. But he also couldn't expand. Right? It was very patient, and he just took a 4th and said, okay. Still no 4th base from Sulky, and then Bisu takes his 4th, and it was a very good sequential way to come out ahead. It probably looked weirder than your average StarCraft game because it's a lot of just this on the map.
Sure, yeah.
And then eventually somebody dies out, but it was a very, very positional game.
Yeah. All right. Definitely a good one there as well, having some quality StarCraft here tonight at the Esports Night. And now we get into Light against Bisu, T.E.N versus Protoss on Circuit Breakers.
So we have Light in the bottom right, and in the bottom left is Bisu.
Okay. I'm excited for this. Circuit Breakers is an amazing map that gives us a lot of long macro games in T.E.N versus Protoss. But there's some crazy stuff that you can try here occasionally too, right?
Yeah.
If you try to do a big push, a lot of times that can, or an early big push is what I'm talking about, a lot of times that can end up deciding the game right there, but people don't do it as much here, right? Like it's a map where it's very easy to defend your first 4 or so bases, and from there, maxing out is a cinch.
So this is a build that Bisu's incredibly strong at. And this is actually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of the oldest builds in PvT.
Forward gateway?
Forward gateway.
Maybe.
I mean, I know that obviously people went for Dragoons with range and pressured, but I mean,
sure.
It's kind of a very specific build with placement and a very specific sequence of units that come out, usually 2 Zealots and then a Dragoon. And this is engineered to really put pressure on the T.E.N because T.E.N players have become very good at just snagging that expansion right away. As I think we've seen in all the matchups, the races have become very smart at just getting in there. But Protoss units are so much stronger, especially before the factory's up, at just killing Marines. I mean, SCVs are kind of strong, but compared to Zealots, it's like, no.
Sure.
Especially if you can control them correctly. So he wants to put on some aggression, do some damage, and try to punish a T.E.N who's too greedy.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he actually gets over there and is able to do it, because the way Light is making his buildings, in about 35 seconds, he's going to have a Zealot tight wall, which is going to turn this aggression off 100%.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how Bisu handles this, because he does this a lot. There's other variations of this. Well, let's just see what direction he tries to take here in this game here. We have Bisu now taking the gas. So the idea is basically that the Zealots are already a threat, and the Terran has to respect it. It's kind of like when Zerg makes a bunch of Lings early on, and the Protoss has to defend against it. But then the Dragoons come in, and Zealots and Dragoons early on against a Terran army that's generally pretty flimsy, that's a real threat.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the Zealot goes through the bottom here.
Yeah, that's very smart to make sure it doesn't get scouted. One thing to mention, though, Light actually did not opt to put the factory in the location and make a tight wall.
Yeah.
So this Zealot's going to come up the ramp.
Yes, it will. And here it comes now.
Yeah, let's see what type of micro these guys have for this situation.
We were actually talking about this build before the show started.
Yeah.
You were saying that, well, hold on.
Yeah, let's look and see how much it does here first. The Zealot actually targeting down that SCV, but good micro from Light so far. Now, Bisu, oh my God, the blocking and the supply depot on the other side.
Oh my God.
This is a big moment for Light.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
And now with 3 Marines, that's like, you're not going to get anything done. 3 Marines is enough to kill a Zealot with perfect micro.
I suppose one thing about this, though, is the Zealot does get to scout and confirm that it's one SCV on gas, right?
Sure, yeah. That is definitely something. Gives you a lot of intel in that regard.
Right.
You know that it's a very standard opener from Light. And Light, I mean, he's making a Vulture, so even though these 2 Zealots come up, because 2 Zealots easily shred 4 Marines. Oh my God, actually, 2 of them stuck outside. So it looks like he's actually going to get a bit more damage than you would think with this, but he is going to lose both his Zealots.
Seems like you get much more value out of damaging the Marines since they can't be healed.
Yeah.
And then the Dragoons can come in and maybe take on the Vulture.
Yeah, that's kind of the thought behind it. He's going to actually probably need to make 1 more Marine because he's getting an add-on. So he has 2 Marines, one of which might be damaged, and a damaged Vulture. And a Dragoon actually can fight against all that.
Yeah, I don't know the HP on these Marines, but...
Yeah, so they actually were damaged by that Zealot. This is not a bad attack at all from Bisu now. Those 2 Marines splitting up and getting caught by the Zealot down the ramp really made a huge difference.
Oh my God, the Vulture got stuck for a second. So, the Dragoon is far superior to the Vulture. Like, a far better unit, especially when range is done. That's so funny, the SCVs retreat inside the bunker, but I guess, yeah, you can do that. The Vulture's now out on the map, and there's no Marines in this game. But there's a tank.
Yeah.
But,
the tank should be enough, right? He'll land the barracks. I'd be surprised if he doesn't make 1 to 2 Marines just to shore up his defenses a little bit.
Yeah.
And Bisu going to continue to harass, as he well should. So I'm not sure if that's going to be siege mode or mines that are on the way, because he does have a Vulture on the map. Looks like a little bit of scouting going on. I got to tell you, it looked like this was going to be Light favored from the opener after he killed that first Zealot, but
I thought so too.
Bisu really made this work. When he ended up killing those 2 Marines and damaging the other 2, that gave him a big advantage. If Light has 4 Marines here, he can basically walk across the map right now. But as is, Bisu's looking good.
One funny thing about this, I don't think is mentioned enough, is just how good Bisu is with Zealots specifically. I mean, this is, he tears up Zergs.
Yeah.
So easily. And so here's a Tech and a Reaver, which I think is completely the right play. Keep the pressure on. T.E.N is actually blind right now. Has no idea what's going on inside the Protoss's tech. Light is going to just plant a few mines here to try to have some ability to monitor growth towards the top left, which is going to be, I think, absolutely the location that Bisu wants to try to take.
Definitely, you're right about that. You're not really worried about them, Protoss taking these bases down here as much. And
no.
I don't even know if he was planning on taking a 3rd there. I think that was likely to place down a pylon, but sometimes people take the 3rd.
So both of these races can actually punish each other in these positions if you try to expand towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I imagine T.E.N will take the mineral natural. I don't think you can take the center right without being punished by Protoss.
No, you're definitely right about that.
You're
Third
way
base
too
for
far.
T.E.N
It's like,
will-
that area is terrible for T.E.N to control.
But look at this. Light has laid some mines in spectacular locations. He's got a ton of vision, right? He's basically got almost a full arc around, and it's likely this will fly over a mine.
Now, see the Vulture here? It's literally the spot for the Reaver.
Yeah.
Because there's basically only one pass they're going to take.
And just seeing that, look at this. He's laying some defensive mines. The Observer's not out because you're getting out those other robo units first. So this is really hard. Like, this is more than enough to hold on against this Reaver Trop.
I don't know that Bisu can do anything with this. I really don't.
Oh, it hit! It hit!
Yeah, you have to abandon this attack here. The Reaver can add value later on, but you always, if you can, always want to take something out with it.
Yeah, it's still useful, but there's not, like, at this point, Light is looking very good defensively.
Is there nothing here?
Gonna drop a Zealot this time to check.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work either.
Yeah, and with Goliaths out, I feel like you want to back up. You never really know if he's getting Goliath range right now. Normally you get Siege first, but every now and then you'll see a cheeky T.E.N try to just snipe the shuttle right away.
It does appear, unless we see a Citadel or something in Templar Archives and Stargate, excuse me, we're going to have Dragoons, Zealots, and Shuttles with Reavers here. And this is a really strong kind of in-your-face PvT style.
Yeah.
Where you're just bombing on the tanks. You're just running them over with Dragoons. You're picking Reavers up, in and out. Very hard for T.E.N to fight. And here we see the second shuttle signifying this. I don't think he's going to drop in the main with this. I think this is looking for a fight over the Terran's soon-to-be third.
You're probably right about that, but there were some good scans that just went off. And he kind of spots the gateway count is going up a little bit high. We don't really have Arbiter tech or anything like that yet. If you can see, for instance, that they have two shuttles, you play this completely differently as T.E.N.
So what do you want to do when you see the two shuttles?
If you see two shuttles, you become entrenched. You just watch for them, and you keep them off your tanks, because if they can't do anything with these two shuttles, you've got the lead.
Well, here we're going to find out if he can do it with these two shuttles right now. Wait, I think he might just go for the main instead.
Yeah, speed shuttles against one turret. This is an easy speed shuttle victory. Flies right over into the main base.
Now he's going to go for the workers over here. We see them being pulled. They will get away. Two Reavers in here, in fact. Keep in mind that the turret will now be destroyed, so the Reavers can even get an exit here. And taking this out is just huge. The armory? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Boom. That's taken out. He can now target down that tank. Great play, but did he overstay his welcome here?
Well, he's definitely going to lose everything, but he's killed an armory. He's killed at least a tank. Got a couple SCVs in there.
Can he get in there?
I think it was okay, man. I think it was really reasonable.
Now, I think Bisu did as well as he could have, but he probably stayed in there a little bit too long. I think you get the armory, you pick up, and you get back out. Maybe even try to drop again over at the expansion.
Well, right now, looks like Bisu is thinking about having some aggression again. If he can bomb these tanks with some Zealots,
there's no
actually,
mines
this can
here,
work.
man.
Oh, beautiful move here from Bisu, dropping on top of the siege tanks, running with the Dragoons at the same time. So much of Light's army out of position.
And, each tank he snipes is another position inside the Terran space that can't be defended. I mean, Vultures and Goliaths just fighting Dragoons and Zealots is always a fight that Terran will lose. And so the tank covered with a Vulture and the Goliath is what Terran wants to have. But the moment you assassinate the tank, it's the backbone of the Terran's defense. And we're starting to see now Bisu continue to push in. He's going to dive right on top of this tank with excellent play. Picks that off.
He's going to lose the command center as well. This is becoming very dire. And you see Light is going to try to save this command, but I don't know that it can be.
Well, not just that. He's going to lose so many SCVs in the process.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend that Bisu isn't making more shuttles behind this. The idea is that, you have, I don't even see any observers out here in this fight. He's basically just making shuttles, just making Reavers. All
right, Light right now is trying his hardest just to hold on. This is a terrible situation for him. Bisu just staying out of range, poking anything he can and getting ready to take more bases. Bisu takes a strong lead of this game.
Look at this, man. An Arbiter is already in play. I'm sorry, there's an observer somewhere. Did he just not make a single observer? Is this just like game
I haven't seen
2 where we
observers.
didn't see an observer the whole time? And
It might be, yeah. Well, he's been making so many shuttles and reavers, you know?
How crazy is that?
You say crazy, I say another day on the ladder. But, you know, Bisu has chosen to play this game pretty aggressively overall, and it's paid off for him. And really, looking at this position, it's not that Light can't do anything, but he has to bring it to a longer game. And having lost that armory, all of his upgrades are going to be so late.
By the way,
It's it's so hard to come back from here.
it's one of the funny things is that Reavers are actually great against depots.
Yeah, they really
They
are.
do so much damage, especially if you can find a square of depots and hit the center, you can end up taking out 4, which is just the most annoying thing ever. For instance, right now, Light is actually supply blocked. I think to the casual observer, you could look at this and say, oh, there's no SCVs, he's fine. It's like, no, dude. You crazy?
No, supply blocks are
Depots
one of
are-
the most brutal things that can
Depots are almost always touching each other.
Yeah,
They're very large for supply buildings. Oh my God! It went through the pile, the minerals.
Really nice shot there. Well, Light right now has a lot of factories. I almost wonder if he will just... Well, the thing is, I don't think... Here's my thought process, Tasteless. Let me walk you through this for a second, right? He has a lot of factories. His upgrades are slow. He's taken kind of a beating. But there's been a lot of Reavers, a lot of shuttles. This is very Dragoon heavy from Bisu. Sometimes I would look at the position like this and say, maybe you try to do a very strong one all-in push from Light. But at the same time, Bisu hasn't gone overboard on expands. Maybe you can fight your way back into macro game?
I'm really liking Bisu's position.
Yeah, no, I do too.
This is very much ideal, especially if you take out both tanks and SCVs and make the third even lift. You're feeling confident, right? The Arbiter tech has been
that's
delayed.
where you're wrong. He never lifted it. He almost lost it.
Oh, did
but
he
that
not
command
lift?
center stayed on the ground.
Okay, I stand corrected then. By the way, we still don't have any observers on the map.
Really?
Yes, literally. There's no observers on the map. Look, that's a shuttle.
How can that even be?
I don't know.
We're 14 minutes in.
Is that an observer in the lower center?
I don't think
You have
so.
to understand how weird this is. I feel like, okay, there's our first observer that I've seen.
So you make observers? You fool.
I know. I was trying to find out what they were doing instead of blindly bombing them with shuttles and reavers, and now I know where I was wrong.
That's okay. We're going to get you S rank soon. Okay, so right now Bisu is looking so strong. He is almost maxed out. Now, if you really defend your position, like this supply Light has 136 supply, you could hold on against an attack. It is possible. You lay your mines down, you have buildings in the way, things like that.
Thing is, it does seem like for Protoss, because they have the lead, they can usually just flood you with units, and they don't suffer that many losses unless they get like the worst pairing ever. By the way, that armory was killed off, so is +1 attack done?
I think Light probably has +1 done about now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it would make sense. He would have to have that. I just don't know for sure. By the way, it is this weird thing where I think T.E.N can probably push through the bottom and still take out the mineral only, if done correctly.
Yeah, you can do that as T.E.N, but like while you do that, Protoss should be taking the whole top of the map.
Right.
Your army is so out of position to do anything. Okay, you can see Light, he's really turtling up right now. He knows that there's danger everywhere, but his supply is getting up to the level where you are not really afraid of dying to a frontal attack. But he needs to be very careful about Arbiters flying in with recall. One good recall, I feel like just that ends the game, basically.
Yeah,
there will become no real chance.
I don't know if there's an angle he can recall it, though, really.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
I mean, he can't recall. If you recall in the natural, you just lose the game. If you recall, I think the turret layout is just enough that he can't even actually rely on recall. I think he actually has to rely on stasis, weirdly enough.
It seems like you're right about that right now.
But in the meanwhile, I guess what's even more important is that Bisu completely grabs the upper left. Now, even in a very even game, Bisu grabs the upper left. But I think that this is a real dilemma. Bisu will eventually try to grab the upper right, and it's a far distance for T.E.N to push.
Okay, well, Light is starting to push, right? He's going through that bottom thing like you kind of suggested. He should be able to kill this without too much problem. But, you know, does this take too long, I guess is my big question.
Well, this is one of these moments where if Protoss tries to attack in here, it's a giant meat grinder.
That's for sure.
That bottleneck and the siege tanks, it's one of those things where a player takes an expansion and you just throw your hands up in the air and say, we'll try to win this another way.
Yeah. Sometimes bases come up like this, and There's no real. It's like, okay, you get to mine that out.
Sometimes you'll get a spot that's so good on the map, and your opponent will attack into you, and you just win the game because they're trying too hard to kill something, and it's easier for you to defend than it is for them to ever break that spot.
But, as he does go down to that 6 o'clock expansion, you see Bisu take the top right. I think that's a beautiful counter to this. Because Light has to give so much attention to keeping 6 o'clock alive.
Yeah.
There's no way to really attack the top right and top left corners.
So, basically, T.E.N can't be attacked. And so the Protoss says, all right, I'm not going to attack you. I'm going to take the whole map and suck up basically 75% of the resources on the map are mine. And because your army in the long run is going to be better, stronger, but not as fast, not as nimble, I am going to win by just having more map and waiting for you to push out and taking complete control here.
Yeah.
It's somewhat of a similar situation, but maybe even more pronounced than the Light versus Sulky game we had to start things off.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, Light is finally pushing into here. I think Bisu for sure should come down and make this hard.
Now, T.E.N may rely on trying to push through this the lower third of the map here, just try to win the game that way.
T.E.N?
Just take out the bottom left main. I don't think it's a winning move, but I think it might be what Light tries to do here.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's hard for Protoss to fight in like a hallway, like a boxed up area.
Yeah.
Unless you get perfect stasises and then maybe perfect storms. Hold on. Here we go.
Ooh, the double shuttle coming in right now. The Goliaths don't do much there, mostly attacking ground. Great EMP goes off, gets 2 Arbiters in it. That's huge, but he needs a lot of Ultras down here. So many Zealots are closing in on the siege tanks.
Yeah, and now we have him beginning to break this position. Let's see if he pushes further in here. Note that both of the supplies are even. The stasis wears off. That goes to show you how long that fight went on for. And I think Protoss just backs up, and then Bisu goes back to his gateways, and we're going to watch his supply spike back up.
Yeah, I think that was okay for Light. He was pretty efficient there, but let's not forget how much of the map Bisu's taking. So he can be slightly inefficient this whole time. And the thing is, they're battling over a mineral only. Bisu's getting more and more map, Light is not. But this is where Light can make the difference. While Bisu's army is distracted at 6 o'clock, he's laying mines everywhere, he's running vultures around. And as vultures reach the 3-2 upgrade level, they actually beat cannons very handily.
Yeah, and they're going to be coming in here now, and this is a moment, as Artosis was saying, where they can actually just shoot this down and win the fight. Cannons are basically untouchable for the early game when it comes to vultures. You're just never going to win that fight. But this was basically, it's not the end of the world, a little bit of a waste, But
a surprising amount of Dragoons came down. If those hadn't come down, he actually kills every probe at that expansion.
Yeah.
So good move by Bisu having some extra units up there.
I think we have 4 Arbiters in this game now. There's going to be an EMP on an Arbiter that wouldn't have the energy to cast a spell anyway, so inconsequential. Meanwhile, more Zealots are coming down here. Do we know what the upgrades are for Protoss? Is it 2-2? Oh, 3-0.
Plus 3 attack.
So he never got a second Forge for armor, which means he dies a little bit more quickly to this. There's one stasis. Do we have another one available?
Light going to go back and siege up here. Actually pushing back the Arbiters reasonably well, but Bisu has a lot of goons. This is a little bit inefficient, but it seems like it's just barely working out for Bisu.
Yeah, well, he's just pushing him down to the low ground, and Bisu just runs back home. You watch his income, or his supply, down. Remember, even though it seems like Protoss is going to have a really hard time breaking that bottom location, and they may never break that bottom location, the resources are going to dry up. Now comes the most important part of the late game here for T.E.N. Can T.E.N take the last realistic expansion that T.E.N can take? The center right.
Well, right now, absolutely no, he cannot. He's going to lose his science facility. He's going to lose all these units. There is no way, no how. He needs to just fly the command center back.
Yeah, I think he thought he had a better position, but
yeah.
It's funny, there's this minefield that is to the northeast center that is just not playing a role at all.
It might at some point, we'll see. I feel like Light missed a little opportunity. He could have killed the mineral-only base during this.
Yeah, I agree. What's crazy is he's pushing a location, and I think Bisu might even mine that out before it becomes a factor. This really goes to show you why Bisu is such a strong player. Now, here's another thing we got to watch for is when the main army comes in here, an actual real fight on the map. How much does he actually have? Look at this, dropping Zealots onto this, storming this down. Great control here by Bisu. Now, seems like T.E.N is barely going to come out on top, but what's more important is that Bisu has so much of the map. he can take all of his gateways, spam out Zealots, Dragoons, Templars, and of course keep making Arbiters. And the next attack in is going to be a tough one for T.E.N. And all that, okay, here we go. Finally, this minefield is playing a role, which is going to make this army much squishier for the next fight. Oh my God, dude.
It's painful. He can float the natural command center up. He loses one comstat doing that, but that's going to have to be the play because he has to take this base right now. His income is super low.
He just transferred there. So at this point in the game, the bottom is the only realistic base that T.E.N.'s mining from. The middle only should be mining out any second now. Which means every T.E.N. unit, every tank, every vessel, every vulture, even every SCV is critical here.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to attack 6 o'clock as well. He knows that Light is trying to reinforce 3 o'clock as best he can. So Light going to have to send everything he has down here. Is that going to be enough? Because Bisu's army is larger at this point.
Yeah, this is a huge attack coming through here. And again, it's not cost efficient in a lot of these fights for Protoss, but it doesn't matter because Protoss has all the money because they have all of the map.
All right, he's actually targeting these Dragoons down. Beautiful target firing here from Light. And
that's T.E.N. upgrades for you, man.
Dude, that was T.E.N. upgrades and beautiful target firing. The siege damage all going on goons as opposed to the Zealots hurting the tanks. And that's it, though.
Light
GG's called.
Out. A very, very strategic game there from Bisu, all the way from the first few minutes to the last few seconds. Just, there's no way for T.E.N. to make that game go on for any longer. Think of all the other bases on the map that Protoss could have still taken. The natural in the upper right, the 12 o'clock position.
The mineral onlys at the top.
Yeah, that's enough resources that even if T.E.N. takes, let's say T.E.N. got that 5th base up, okay, then the game still goes on. But the fact that he denied that and then drew all the attention of the army back down to the bottom, because you might have seen that and said, wait a minute, T.E.N., it seemed like he drove the Protoss away. T.E.N.'s not going to get back up to the center right. 3 o'clock is not going to be T.E.N.'s. Protoss's units are much more just fluid.
They're mobile.
They're mobile. You don't have to siege and unsiege. You're not planting mines. You just grab them. You put them in the right spot. You set up an attack. And great play. So here's our results for Group 1, I guess we should say.
Yeah,
it says round 1, but really Group 1.
So for the first group, Protoss comes out on top with 2 points. T.E.N. on second place with 1 point. Zerg with 0 points.
Sorry, Zerg.
Yeah, so Protoss winning so far in this match.
Not
Some
surprising,
great play
though.
from Bisu.
Yeah, Bisu really, showing why he is the most celebrated Protoss of all time.
Yeah. Well, I think Light did well for the Terrans, but Sulky, even though he had 2 pretty good games, especially that first one against Light, not putting anything on the board.
No.
Gonna be some heavy lifting for his teammates coming up.
Yeah, we're going to have a break coming up here, but the next group should be just as good. Basically, all of tonight's going to kick ass.
Yeah.
We're getting, the best dream matchups. It's funny because, sometimes in tournaments there's a clear favorite, but let's give this underdog a chance, and we're all building up to this great moment. Tonight, it's going to be a long, dramatic night of the very best Brood War games you could ask for.
That's right. I can't wait, actually, for the next group, but we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll be back with group number 2.